So I received a beautiful Facebook message from someone who asked me to do a video about this. So I'm going to read the message from them because I think that there's a tremendous overlap in many versions of this story, and I think that it could apply for several of us. So let's open the email. So what she's written to me here is, I have a question for you. Maybe you can take that up here on Facebook or as a movie on YouTube if you would like. I think many of us have a little difficulty with this subject. Is it about compassion and empathy? As I have understood it from you, from what you have been saying on YouTube, that we all decided our experience in this body, the body we have right now, and I totally get that. The story in my life right now is that I struggle with an alcoholic, drug-addicted father. There's total denial in him, accusingly, victim mentality, lies about everything and everyone, anger, bitterness, and so on. I know this is part of the illness. How do we, deal with this in a good, loving, and healthy way when it comes to this kind of problem? I want to see him as he is, pure light. But how can I when there is no respect or honesty left? It is too easy to jump into the story. I want to change, I want to grow, and most of all, like so many others with the same problem, just to have a healthy relationship based on love, compassion, and joy. What do you think about this? So it's a beautiful question, and as she mentioned, there's a tremendous amount of overlap in this, because you can replace her story of the father being an alcoholic with the husband being a cheater, or the best friend being a narcissist. I mean, honestly, you can switch out the actors in this in so many facets, and it'll still be the same review of the situation. What I love about this, and why it's so easy to speak about for me, is that I grew up with an alcoholic father myself. From the time I remember walking, my father was what is known as a binge alcoholic, where he'll go for months or even years without anything to drink, and then he'll go on a binge, and he'll disappear for a day, a week, months. And that is the story of Kelly. That was the experience I grew up with. And there are many times where we didn't know where he was, and I spent much of my young life calling morgues and hospitals and halfway houses, trying to find him and make sure that he was alive. There was a lot of pain and suffering in that, and I was pulled into his story. I was pulled into what was going on with him, and what began to happen was a tremendous amount of resentment and anger and disappointment. Many stories running that I wish I had a father who wasn't like this, and of course, in between that, guilt of feeling that way, and then empathy towards what he was going through, and recognition that this is a disease. So it's a cyclical thing, of course, just like any story. We go in and out of it, and each time we cycle through it, we say, this is my last time. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I can't count the number of times on my hand that I said I was done calling morgues and hospitals, and yet the next time he would go MIA, what did I find myself doing? The reality is that we do what we do until we don't. There's no right or wrong in any of it. And the experience is always appearing to be about another. We can even identify with it and call ourselves the child of an alcoholic. We can take it even further and say we're the victim of that. We have a really easy perception of looking out at them and seeing their faults. And yet, the realization is that there are no faults in any of it. If the lips are moving and the talking is happening, how do I know any of it's true? Well, you don't. But there's still the ability to love them right there. The desire to have them be some other way is where the suffering comes in. It's not about what they're doing. It's not about how they're behaving. It's not about how their life appears off track. It's about our desire for them to be anything other than what they are being. From a human perspective, we have this desire for everything to be perfect. We have this desire for every family to look the same. We watch a TV show and we see 4.2 children in a home with 2 parents, mother and father kissing and loving, and that is our version of conditioned beliefs around what family looks like. Anything that falls outside of that feels wrong. And yet we know it's not wrong because it's what it's being right now. From a soul perspective, we are each playing our parts perfectly. We're each doing absolutely what was intended to be done. Mooji speaks about the fact that when nothing more is felt in an experience, you're not apathetic, you're not angry, you're not resentful, you're not triggered, then you have transcended that trigger. So your father is playing his part perfectly, and we know this because there's still some desire in you for him to be different, for him not to lie, for him not to drink, for him not to deceive, for him not to be a victim. And that's not his issue at all. He's doing his part perfectly because he's allowing you to be triggered over and over until those triggers are met with understanding. Each one of them wants to be met with understanding. He shouldn't lie. Is that true? How do you feel when you believe the thought that he should not lie? And who would you be without that thought? And what would it feel like to just meet him and be able to sit with him, being and doing exactly what he's being and doing? No desire for anything in the experience to be different at all. The triggers are beautiful gifts. They're bringing the emotions to the surface so they can be seen. How do you love with compassion and not empathy? Empathy says that you feel sorry for them, or you're empathetic to what they're going through, or your heart hurts for them. And even that's not true. That's not true. Suffering lies in that empathy. I can meet someone in pain without taking on their pain, and love them much more by being fully present and clear. Walk up to a homeless person who lives on the street without feeling sorry for them. Look in their eyes, and what do you see? If you're clear, you see yourself. Your eyes are looking back at you, because there are not two here. I am that. When the trigger is gone, when the desire for something to be different than it is gone, you have transcended this. And in that, there's an openness to love so unconditionally, in a place of absolute presence and clarity. My father could leave this planet tomorrow, and I would know with all of my heart that he did his job perfectly. And I would also know with all my heart that all of these years spent in and out of pain and suffering over his apparent condition was also perfect. There's no need to change anything. There's no desire to make it something other than it is. And even the story that you're in is perfect because it's bringing the feelings and the emotions to the surface. Greet the story with understanding. Welcome it. It's not to be pushed down. It's not to be shifted or reworked or reframed. It's to be loved. Those discomfortable feelings, this dis-ease in the body, is a gift. It's saying, see me, hear me, recognize me. I'm ready to let go if you're ready to see me. I hope that helps, sweetheart. And I thank you again for an amazing question, which I think will platform for others in many ways. It doesn't matter what the actor's suit looks like. An alcoholic, a drug addict, a narcissist, someone who's angry, someone who does whatever they're doing. Every single one of them are playing their part perfectly. And when there is no emotion about what they're doing at all, you have transcended and you have let go of you. Until next time, sending you a tremendous amount of love.